Wow. I'm with my boy Robert.
Going to the
And
basket.
right
Free
here,
throw
here's how we're going
line
to start the show,
or
man. On
in.
a bad note, Joel Embiid hits a big-time shot in the north with .9. Great timeout. Terrible defense by the Raptors. Don't know what the hell was going on there. They only had .9. I don't get it, my man. Biggest thoughts of the game.
Bad coaching.
Yep.
Really, really bad coaching. Nick Nurse is going to have to answer for this one for a really long time. That last play is inexcusable. It's absolutely inexcusable.
Look at this. I mean, how does this happen? You know what I'm saying?
You let their best player catch the shot. You didn't have a single person on the ball. Who were you double teaming there? Who fell asleep?
So here we see Precious Achiuwa has him. Okay, so Tobias Harris sets a screen on him.
Look at where Fred VanVleet is.
Fred's cheating, but he's not cheating well enough. It's like, bro. Oh my God.
And look at the contest. Look at the contest on the shot from Fred VanVleet. He goes right past him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, first of all, given how bad Fred VanVleet has been on defense, they have targeted him. How could you not sub in Chris Boucher on this play? How do you
with
not
.9? With .9,
how do you not put somebody on the ball? There's no chance you're going to get the ball back, right? There's no chance this is going to be an offensive possession. You just literally need to stick this one defensive possession out.
But even if you do, though, like you have to get the defensive rebound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's just this coach is just so irrationally attached to this point guard. He did it. Kawhi bailed us out 3 years ago. Fred VanVleet shot 12.5% against Philadelphia 3 years ago. He nearly cost us a championship. That was the difference. That would have been the difference. And he talks about it even till this day that, oh man, I'm really lucky Kawhi hit that shot because then I had a chance to redeem myself in the next 2 rounds. But man, it's happening all over again. You've got a coach and you've got a player, and he thinks this player is Chris Paul.
Zero excuse why this man should be out here right now. Zero excuse.
Absolutely. It's the players you have on the court. Gary Trent Jr., for everything he did tonight, is not a great defender. He's not one of your long defenders. I would happily have put Thaddeus Young out there defensively. Yes, his thumb is hurt, but defensively, he offers so much more length.
So here's a closer look.
Yeah, look at Fred. Hands down. Right?
I mean,
not even a hand in the face. And is that Siakam?
No, that's Precious. That's Precious.
Precious. That's an open shot.
So that was Precious shot. Yeah, that was his man. He got screened by Tobias.
So the switch has to come.
Oh my God.
Tobias is a pretty solid guy, so the switch has to come.
Yeah.
And it didn't come because Fred VanVleet was late. And that's routine. Look, I could make a compilation tonight of Fred VanVleet throwing his hands up, looking at his teammates, saying, "Where's the help? Where's the help?" I saw it every freaking time he got beat. It's like, yo, you're not helping your teammates at all. You can't keep Harden in front of you. You can't keep Tobias in front of you. You can't keep Joel in front of you. You can't keep anybody in front of you right now. You definitely can't keep Maxey in front of you. And every time these guys go to the basket, you're giving up 2 points, you're giving up momentum, and then you're sourpussing and you're looking around, and then you're hoisting stupid ass shots.
Penetrating.
Yeah.
No, this just leaves a very sour taste in my mouth, and I am just shocked that Siakam shrunk the way that he did. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists in 49 minutes for a max player. You want to talk about shrinking in the big moment? He didn't get to the line once. 0 free throw attempts for Pascal Siakam in 48 minutes. -4. I mean, this was a guy who was scared to shoot. He couldn't score over Niang. One-on-one. The Sixers did not double team him. I don't want to hear that excuse tonight. I don't want to hear people saying, "Oh, he had too much." No, the Sixers are way more worried about OG Anunoby, and OG Anunoby showed up. Okay, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He was consistently your best passer. He's the only guy who was creating anything for you. This is ridiculous. I can't believe what I just watched. I'm flabbergasted. This game was theirs. They had it. I was on a group chat where when Flynn was playing, and we built up a little bit of a cushion, and he was really trying. I know Harden was hunting him, but he was holding his own. He was staying with him. He stayed in front of Maxey. And the minute Fred and Pascal checked in, I messaged the group chat. I said, "There goes the lead." And sure enough, it was a 29 run right after that. Your best players were not your best players tonight. Kudos Gary Trent Jr. I've been really hard on him all season. He really showed up offensively. Defensively, he was atrocious, but offensively, he showed up. He wasn't afraid of the moment. 9 for 19. I can live with that. He had 24 points. OG Anunoby, back-to-back 26-point performances. What more do you want from this guy? He's guarding Harden. He's guarding Maxey. He's covering as your help defender. He's shading over and he's banging with Embiid. And on the other hand, he's giving you 26, 5, and 4. And after the post game, I have to listen to Fred fucking VanVleet tell me that he's your third option. I cannot stand this team. I really can't.
Well, Precious Achiuwa, for one, he has to hit shot. He has to hit those 2 free throws, at least one. He missed
Did he put
both.
He didn't put himself out there, and quite frankly, our broadcaster was saying Chris Boucher should probably be out there right now. Okay, yeah, you're right in the hot hand. He's 9 for 11, but almost every shot that Precious Achiuwa hit tonight was right in the paint. Right? He's not a good free throw shooter. You're rolling the dice with a 54% career free throw shooter, who I believe at some point this year was 36%. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, Twitterverse or YouTube world. So this is the worst free throw shooter on your team, and you chose to have him out there. And Pascal Siakam chose to give him the ball.
He did foul hard in that, though.
He did. Okay, first of all, I want to just say that wasn't a foul. Okay, they got bailed on that one. Harden was right to be very pissed off with that. And
was that a goaltend, though? Because I thought that was 50-50. To me, that was 50-50.
There's no way in hell that ball was on its way down. It was on its way up. It just so happens that in the NBA, if you try to block a shot from underneath the basket, it's a goaltend 9 times out of 10. You have to be the angle that they had, it didn't confirm whether the ball's trajectory changed. They kept looking at it from the top, right? So the only thing they were really looking at when they looked at that replay was where OG Anunoby blocked it. And they're like, if you blocked it underneath the basket.
The Wikipedia page says ownership, Joel Hands Embiid. Ouch.
Good. You know what? Let him have it. Kudos to Joel Embiid. He came in there and he punked us. All right. Now, he took out my favorite player in the world, Scotty Barnes, in game 1, and I have been on a tirade and,
this guy's going to get his Embiid's number tattooed.
Bro, you know what?
Oh, my God.
I'm a Raptor fan, but I'm a basketball fan. And what Joel Embiid just came out and did to the Raptors is basketball purity, okay? Yeah, he wasn't perfect. And you know what? Good for him. This team did not deserve to win tonight. I'm sorry, Raptor fans, if you want me to say that way, but your coach got out-coached by one of the worst coaches in the NBA. I don't.
Look at this guy. Joel Embiid's a clown, man. Look at him.
Maybe that's why he's so loose in these big moments,
yeah.
Right?
No doubt. So, VanVleet, terrible defense there. Great. It was a great hammer screen there by Tobias Harris to get Joel Embiid open, but it just doesn't fit my mind, man, that you got 0.9 seconds and where they want to go with the ball, yet you still allow it, yet there's still no contest. That was Joel Embiid's easiest shot ever.
I'll tell you this. You don't know where they're going with the ball. I have a feeling.
Oh, we knew where we're going.
Oh, you may have known who they were going to, but you probably assume in a tie game, right, you're not going for a fadeaway 3. I credit Doc Rivers for picking probably the least likely predictable play you were not expecting. If I told you before that timeout What shot did Doc Rivers prioritize? You're not telling me a Joel Embiid fadeaway three, right? You're thinking pin down, screen, open Danny Green, open Tobias Harris, or Joel Embiid going to the basket, right? The Raptors, unfortunately, have the personnel to deal with this. Now, granted, Scotty Barnes is out, so you have a little less personnel to deal with something like this situation. But that's the whole thing we heard all year, right? 6'8", everyone's 6'8", everyone has long arms, so you can contest on something like this. And this is exactly the type of situation the Raptors defense and this long wing, 6'8", long wing lineup is meant to be able to disrupt. You're meant to be able to, drop into the post and maybe hopefully contest a Joel Embiid tip in and block it the way Precious Achiuwa blocked, I think, a couple of shots at the rim tonight. And you should be able to switch out quickly enough because you guys have long arms and a quick feet. But with Fred VanVleet out there, with Gary Trent out there, you're just too small. You're too small to combat your lack of advantages, and Joel Embiid is too big. I mean, it's just physics. At some point, you're throwing a 6 foot guy out there with 6 foot arms to contest a shot of a 7'1" guy with 7'7" wingspan. Where's his release point, or where's his contest?
This guy says the Raptors will make history and be the first team to ever come back down from a 3-0. Yeah.
All right. You know what? If they get Scotty Barnes back on Saturday, they will be a different team. But I'm sorry, coming back 4 straight is exhausting. This is a team that is beat up. Fred and I don't see anything in Nick Nurse that tells me he's willing to adjust. Okay, I saw this in the bubble too. Okay, look, a team is more than one player's ego. Okay,
Right.
if I'm the coach, granted, this is why I would be fired in 2 days in the NBA if I was a coach. But if I were a coach, I'm sorry, I'm firing. I'm putting Siakam on the bench in the bubble. I'm not letting him destroy Boston series because he's not doing anything good for me. Can't post up a soul, can't guard a soul. I'm sorry, sit down. Sit down. We're going to play Serge and Mark, and we're going to roll the dice with guys who can actually play. We're going to feature OG on offense. We're going to tell you to sit until you're ready to play. In a game like this, I try Armani Brooks, I try Malachi Flynn, and I tell Fred, you know what, buddy? I know you got a contract extension coming up. I know you want to bet on yourself. I'm sorry I played you 40 minutes a night and ran your knees into the ground all season, but this is not the time for me to pay you back favorites and to think about your next contract. This is a time to win. And this game was in hand. Okay, this game was totally in hand. And I'm sorry, Nick Nurse shit the bed. There is not one good thing I can say about his coaching tonight. Not one good thing.
That was tough, man. So what I thought would happen happened. The Raptors came out, punched them in the mouth, and then the Sixers, once again, as you always say, star power wins in the NBA. They came out, they responded, they expected the avalanche of the We North crowd. And hey, you got to give them kudos, man. Like they could have been blown out and again, when you got Joel Embiid, arguably the MVP, co-MVP with Jokic, you're going to have a chance, man. And that's what happened today. The Raptors had a chance on multiple occasions, but as people in our chat right now are saying, Siakam is a coward, Van VanVleet's a choker, like no free throws for Siakam. That's tough, man. I can't justify him.
No, he looked scared. He looked scared to attack Niang and Harris. Now, if this is a regular season, he's attacking those guys and he's putting himself at the line. He's getting to the line 8 times, 10 times. But right now, he looked scared. He looked confused. There were times when he threw a pass where literally he did not know where he was throwing the pass. It just happened to catch OG's hand. It's the same thing with Fred, too. There were a couple times where Fred just dribbled into the paint and just threw it out, and it's just a very lucky thing that somebody happened to be where he threw it because he had no idea what he was looking at. It was very clear. And I'm going to break down this game because I have 2 days, and I have nothing better to do with my life right now other than shit on this team right now. But, seriously, this is ridiculous. You have 2 players who just shrank in a way that, by the way, to any Raptor fans who've been lifers like I have, who've seen the DeMar, choke, who've seen the Kyle Lowry choke, who've seen the Chris Bosh choke, this is worse than those. This was at home. This was against a team that really did not play well. I don't think the Sixers played well at all.
3 years later, never give up on your dreams.
Dude, They turned Joel Embiid into a feel-good story. I mean, this guy punched half our team. He's punking people. He's putting his foot under Scotty, and you turn him into the good guy because you're booing him, and he comes out. And you know what? Credit to Joel Embiid. Credit to Joel Embiid for dealing with a hostile crowd. It obviously shook him in the beginning. But you know who I think this crowd really shook? Pascal Siakam. I saw it on opening night. I saw it on Lowry's retirement night, not jersey retirement. When they give him the ovation and the tribute and all that stuff. This is just not a guy who does well with bright lights, man. Saw it in the bubble. The spotlight is on him. This is a bad track record. I mean, you've had this guy on his max. He's now going on his third year of his max contract. You've had him. You've seen him as a first option in now 3 playoff series. Okay? You have seen Fred VanVleet as a first option for an entire year, pretty much. First, second option. I don't know what the return is on this experiment, right? Does this problem just go away if, Scotty Barnes takes a step up next year and just puts these guys back in their place, and you kind of have this nice young
This
core?
is a good question right here by our man. Can Doc River run Coach Box to call a timeout?
I don't think he should be able to, but to be honest, that should be a technical foul. But he was obviously calling the foul. He was calling the timeout from where he was standing, and it was just too loud, and the refs didn't hear him. So I think they probably just forgave it. Right?
He shrivels up when it counts. Fred also took my bad shots at key times in the game. Yeah, I mean, that's what Fred does. As Coach Nurse said, he has the ultimate, I quote, green light on this team. That's what he said. And
why? That's my point. Why? You know what? Fred VanVleet had a presser, I think, yesterday, and he was asked about OG Anunoby, right? And they were saying, hey, this guy's been really effective for you in the first 2 games. How about looking for him a little bit earlier? And now our media is dancing around this shit a lot. They're not going to call him out straight. I've never heard anyone in our media say, hey, you've been shooting 29%. Are you ready to pass the ball to somebody else? You've been shooting 29% for 4 months now. Maybe sit down? No.
Yeah, let's check out what Joel Embiid had to say at We the North.
Joel, you've had some big shots in your career. Where does that one rank for you?
Obviously that's the best one. But the job is not done. We got one more. So we got to come back here in 2 days and, try to, beat them again.
When you guys called that timeout, was that the exact play that was supposed to be run, or was it improvisation?
No, that was the play. Just get the ball to, me or whoever that was open, and we did that, and I'm glad we made a good play.
In the first half, they seemed to neutralize you. What did you do in the second half to open up?
Just being more aggressive. The first half, I was just floating around. I didn't really want the ball, and Coach really got on me. Told me that I'm the biggest dude out there, so just go out and dominate. So I had to do it.
Well, thoughts on that?
I will clap for that. Good for you, Joel Embiid. Good for you. You know what? That is true. You were passive. You were a bit of a bitch in the first half. Yeah. You looked shook every time someone was booing you. And good for Doc Rivers. Look, for all of his tactical deficiencies and all of his mismanagement in games, he is a great player coach. And he's an excellent motivator, and he understands the pulse of his players. And he gets them ready. Like he can obviously communicate. I mean, not Ben Simmons' situation notwithstanding, but
yeah. Hey, Ben Simmons would be real nice on this team, though. I'm just saying. Over Fred VanVleet. I'm just saying.
It's another mess you don't want to deal with. Look, I'm just saying, this is credit to him for showing up for his team. They obviously needed him. Harden was good. Look. People may not realize what James Harden has done to this team because they're looking at the box scores and they're, no offense, simpletons, and they don't really follow the game or understand James Harden's brilliance. And maybe if the Sixers were down in this series, James Harden would be catching a lot of flack because they'd be like, why are you not scoring 30? But what James Harden is actually doing is shredding Toronto's defense. Which Nick Nurse is just not he cannot be guarded by Malachi Flynn, although Flynn, I will say, did the best job out of the 3 guards tonight. He cannot be guarded by Gary Trent. He's right past him every time. And that first breakdown is creating all sorts of problems. It's creating offensive rebounds. It's creating open threes. It's creating maxi driving lanes. But it all starts with that first guy breaking down his guy. And it's, by the way, the guy being broken down is only like one time tonight. It was OG Anunoby. Like every other time, it was Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, late on a rotation, Kem Birch, flailing around. Precious Chua was decent. Chris Boucher was good. That's the crazy thing, right?
That's
I
crazy.
keep hearing that role players show up on at home, but
They
stars
do.
are supposed to show up at home. Stars are supposed to show up on the road. But I'm sorry, like 3 straight games, it's Chris Boucher, it's OG Anunoby, and I suspect that if Gary Trent was not dealing with his respiratory situation, he probably would have shown up the last 2 games. To be honest with you, he had, we remember Gary Trent Jr. in the bubble with Portland. He showed out. He was good. He was really good. This is not a guy who's, granted, bubble, real playoffs, slightly different, but he's showing, he's showing in his first real action, healthy, that he's not Pascal Siakam. He's not Fred VanVleet. So, yeah.
Drake told Tobias Harris that Embiid can't play here in the first half, and obviously we saw Embiid take over. Just a little extra motivation there. That maybe
Watching Drake be proven wrong almost makes this worth it. To be honest with you, I'm not a Drake fan. I prefer Kendrick, to be honest.
Oh man,
yeah.
Fred VanVleet.
Oh,
I'm proud of the guys in the way that we fought and raised our intensity level.
Shut up.
But yeah, in terms of closing out a game and executing down the stretch, that's probably as bad as it gets. There's no room to look around and feel sorry for ourselves. We did a lot of good things tonight. We played a lot of minutes of great basketball, and we're going to have to do it again. We're playing for our pride. Pride is on the line. Well, he's not lying there.
I'm tired of this guy, man. I'm so tired of him. Look, I have listened to this guy say the exact thing that it just sounds so great, okay? And I understand why people are on his dick, okay? Pardon my French. I understand why people think he's such a great leader. Why? Because he tells you every time he's in a scrum that he's the leader. It's like he's brainwashed this entire fan base to believe that he's some guy, and he's not, okay? I'm sorry. Jalen Brunson, probably a better player.
Oh,
Okay.
Scotty Barnes! Coach Nurse said we'll have Scotty back on Saturday, and another weapon to use. Even with the Raptors down 3-0, sure sounds like the plans for Barnes to play Game 4. Well, he just confirmed it.
I saw Scotty at the game. He was still limping. I would honestly, you know what? He's a gamer. He's got so much pride. I can tell you you know what the crazy thing is? This guy was in street clothes. He was more engaged in this game than Pascal Siakam. You could see it. You could see it. He was so dialed in. He was so honed in. He was standing up the whole freaking time on his busted foot, and he's just standing there, and he's like watching everything. You know when people are zoned in to a situation, and you know when people look like cloudy eyed, like they're dazed. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what Tyrese said.
I mean, I knew the ball was going to him, and when he caught it, I don't know, man. I have nothing to say. That was crazy, man. Joel is Joel.
It's funny because this guy and Scotty Barnes are real good friends, and when Scotty smashed his ass in Game 1, looked at him, and he was like, "What the fuck? I thought we were friends."
That was funny.
That was funny, bro. I loved it. Scotty's like, honestly, "This is the playoffs, homie. We ain't friends." Oh my god.
You know what? I mean, maybe this is the wake-up call this front office needs. Although I have seen this front office commit to this core. Like, I've seen them commit to Kyle and DeMar through sweeps, right?
Yeah.
So they're not a reactionary bunch, right? And we have 100%. We've overexceeded expectations this year, so it's very easy that they're probably going to look at this and say, okay, well, if Scotty Barnes was healthy, maybe something else happens, and if Fred's knee is healthy, then something else happens or whatever. And I do think this is a very loyal organization. Okay, like there's a deep-seated loyalty within this rank. So if a guy, like for instance, like what happened with Isaiah Thomas in Boston, right? He busted his butt for them. He was injured, right? And they dumped him, right? That reputation carried them for 5 years. Players still talk about that Boston did Isaiah Thomas dirty like that. They didn't
Yeah.
back up the Brinks truck, right? So that reputation is not something you want as an organization. That's, agents talk about it, players talk about it. People don't deal well with that. So having a guy like Fred VanVleet, who you've run into the ground all year, now he's hobbled and he's trying his best, even though I understand deep down it's basically to get a contract extension. And now if you put this guy into the summer and then you don't take care of him financially on the basis of this playoff series and the last 3 months of the season, well, then basically he's going to be like, okay, well, I'm out of here next year. And he's going to trash you on the way out because that's what he'll do, right? And it'll be like, look, they ran me into the ground for 40 minutes. I got hurt playing crazy-ass minutes on this team with no backup, apparently, because apparently Malachi Flynn doesn't count. And, now they're not paying me what I'm worth, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Devon has a serious question. Who runs his team? Is it Nurse? Because he seems afraid to take Fred out even when he's a huge negative on the floor.
Honestly, that's it, right? Fred has said many times that
Talking about the devil.
Done. You got to bring all levels to the game, all aspects to the game. You got to play a complete game, and we just didn't do that tonight.
You attribute the struggles down the stretch to score, not only scoring, but the half court offense.
Well, no shit, you didn't do that tonight.
The fourth quarter was 21-20, and the OT was 9-6. So it's playoffs. It's ugly out there sometimes.
Look at this smug ass motherfucker.
Couple free throws, couple shots go our way. That shot doesn't go in. Who knows? Then you probably wouldn't be asking that question. So it's easy to look at that after an L. But it's ugly this time of year. People are fighting. They're locked in. It's hard to get free. It's hard to run all your stuff. They know what you're gonna run. Again, there wasn't really too many possessions where we didn't get a shot off or a look off. It might not have been the greatest, but just didn't convert them.
To his point, though, you knew Joe was getting the ball, and yet you allowed Joe to shoot.
Just showing him a lot of attention. And again, you got to really break down the entire game. OG's getting a lot of space and opportunity. Gary, it was great to have him back. He's getting a lot of space and opportunity. So at this point of the year, Pascal's doing his job. He's drawing the crowd. He's going to get all the defensive attention. So he didn't
Rob
have
is out. He's like, Rob is
excellent
out.
shooting night, but I thought he was still aggressive, getting to his spots and kicking out and bringing enough attention.
We lost Rob. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's about 3 years better. For a guy that's gotten better, seemingly every year he's played. He's at a really high level right now. I thought Precious did a solid job on him for most of the game, but he was able to get free late and kind of impose his will. He made a couple of tough jumpers and obviously the last one. So we got to do a better job on him.
Did you say anything to Precious? He has the incredible highs of 20 points, and then he misses those free throws out of the game. You mentioned his defense, with the ups and downs of his game. What do you think of that? Yes,
that's the heartbreak of this game. That's what makes it so great. He's a huge reason why we were even in the picture tonight with his defense, his cutting to the rim. He made a couple. What did he make? 2 threes maybe. He threw 2 threes in there. Had a block shot, a couple big dunks. He's 9 for 11 from the field. Off the bench, that's incredible. So, for a young guy to have a breakout performance like that in the playoffs is big for him. He'll lose some sleep over the free throws, as we all do. We've all been there. And, we got to bounce back and get better from it.
How do you reconcile, obviously, the disappointment of losing a game like this and being down in the series with some of these positives of, like, Precious growing out there and Gary growing and OG growing, and it sounds like Scotty could be back on Saturday and have another game of playoff experience.
Here we go.
Kind of tough to strike that balance.
Yeah, well, there's no moral victories right now. We can sit back, once it's all said and done and appreciate and have an optimistic perspective. But right now we're still in the trenches. We're still in the fight. We got to bring even more fight in a couple of days, and there's no room to look around and feel sorry for ourselves. So we did a lot of good things tonight. We played, a lot of minutes of great basketball, and we're going to have to do it again and bring even more fight, even more intensity, more execution, and
Oh, he says all the right
for
things,
our pride.
for sure.
Our pride is on the line.
I'm gonna end this guy.
Yeah, he was big. Mally gave us some big minutes tonight.
See the passive aggressive
being able
question?
to come in and kind of give us a
How
stretch.
do you
I
feel
thought
like
we
your
won a lot of
backup
those
did on
minutes
the
that
guy
he
who's
was
been
in
killing
there.
you?
He was a +4 maybe. Yeah, he was a +4 on the night.
And you were what?
They were
Negative
constantly running
7?
him up, trying to get that switch, and he did a great job on hard. Drew a couple of fouls and was able to get away with some nice rebounds and get deflections and stuff like that. So he was big for us off the bench.
All right.
Yo, it's like it's like the media has a gag order. It's like before they ask him any questions, it's like, okay, you're not allowed to bring up 3 for 13. You're not allowed to bring up the fact that he choked. You're not allowed to bring up the fact that he can't defend. Okay, now go with these parameters. So they're like, hey, Fred, how do you feel about OG, Gary, Malachi, and Precious having decent games? Right? How do you feel about Malachi being able to defend? It's like anything short of like. Honestly, if I was there, I swear to God, I would lose my press privileges like that because I would not be able to contain myself, and I would just be like, "Hey, when you go to sleep at night, do you text Malachi Flynn and ask him like how he stays in front of?"
Yeah, you'd lose it real fast.
I would lose it in 10 fucking seconds. They'd be like, who let this guy in? We're never letting him back in. Because that's the honest question. The honest question you need to ask is, look, Nick Nurse has a policy. If you're winded and if you feel like you can't do something on defense, you're supposed to ask to come out so that he can make the adjustment. He doesn't know if you're tired. You know you're tired. And guys have done that all year. Fred VanVleet would never do that. You play 45, 43 minutes because every minute he's out there is an opportunity to jack up shots. Okay? This is just like I have seen too many narcissists in my life to be tricked into believing that this is just, like I remember an interview that we did with Chris Bosh. I was in that scrum. Okay, this was 2006, and it was a really ugly loss. And I remember how like he put everything like Fred VanVleet's doing right now.
Yeah.
We this, we that. We got to do this. We've got to be better. We've got to make better reads. Okay, I was like, wow, this is great leadership. We. He's not saying the other guys. But the minute they won, it was like, I got this. I did this. So it's if every time you win, it's you, and every time you lose, it's we, I don't want you on my team. I want the opposite. I want Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry made an incredible play against Boston in that series where he got that pass over Taco Fall to OG Anunoby for that corner 3, that crazy ass 3 with 0.5 seconds. And every freaking question was, how did you get that pass over Taco Fall? And he always deflected it back to give credit to OG. He made the shot. And that's what I care about. That's what I care about. That's great leadership. That's what a point guard's supposed to be in my book. This undersized, shooting guard who can't guard his own shadow right now, wants a freaking max contract this offseason. He's just killing this team. And you know what? Like, look, as bad as he was, we were still in this game. As bad as he was, as passive as Siakam was, and you know what? To all the Raptor fans out there who are just going to take this shit at face value because they were too caught up in the game and maybe like they're not, prone to going and checking out tape, I want you to go maybe in a day when it's up, and I want you to look up Pascal Siakam all possessions. Just type in Pascal Siakam all possessions on YouTube and just check out the possessions for this game. And you tell me how many times on those 10 misses was he double or triple team like we're being told, right? Tell me how James Harden and Tyrese Maxey are routinely getting nearly 10 assists per game, but this guy who's drawing these triple teams can't get you 5 assists. Right. Either he's not drawing triple teams, right? Look, who was it? Man, I'm losing it. Who covered the national broadcast on game 1 in the Scotty Barnes game? It's an older coach. God damn it, his name's escaping me.
Hubie Brown.
Hubie Brown. And what did he say about Pascal? He said about Scotty Barnes. He was very complimentary about Scotty Barnes. And what did he say? He said he has so much presence on the court.
Facts.
It's an incredible presence. So even though he only had 15 points, he was so present. Like the passes he made, the decisions he was making, the way that he commanded the floor was so impressive. Now, I hope he's able to bring 70% of that on Saturday. He's not going to be 100%. No one's going to be 100% after what he went through. But that presence is so important, right? Pascal Siakam, for at least 25 minutes tonight where he was on the court, I did not know he was on the court.
Facts.
Did you know he was on the court?
No.
I didn't know he was on the court.
You don't feel that. And there's a lot of NBA players where you just don't feel. Then there are some players where right off the bat, as soon as they come into the game, you feel that presence, man. And unfortunately, Siakam was my guy, but damn, man. Tonight was rough, bro. Tonight was rough.
This is, you know what? The playoffs are a different animal, but this Sixer team is not playing well enough to justify this. I would completely look. If this was like Kevin Durant and, the Brooklyn Nets right now, they are definitely going up against some hard defense in Boston, okay? Now, I'm not going to throw Durant struggles at him. He shot, I think, 2 for 12 tonight, or 3 for 12 tonight, or whatever. He shot a really terrible percentage. He got to the line 20 times, but, I'm not going to hold that against him because I know what he's going up against. He's going up against Tatum, Brown. He's going up against Smart on Diggs. I'm sorry. You're going up against Tobias Harris and George Niang and a 34-year-old Danny Green and James Harden and Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, who he wasn't even in the game in the first half. He wasn't defensively engaged or offensively engaged. He wasn't that, half the shots the Raptors got tonight in the first half were because, I say half, close to half, were off of Joel Embiid just not showing properly, just being lazy on defense, right? And obviously Doc Rivers got into his ear in the half. What I'm saying is this is not because of what the Sixers are doing. The Raptors are doing this to themselves. They could have won this game by 30 points tonight if they wanted it. No excuses. This is a ridiculous coaching job. This is a ridiculous showing for two guys who brand themselves as all-stars and all-NBA players. I don't want to hear that shit next year. I don't want to hear that shit next year. I don't want to hear these all-star campaigns because all these things are for is to brand the players up so they can command more money on their next contract. That's really all it is. It's so that they can grow their personal brand. But you know what? This is why Toronto gets a choker tag in the playoffs. Because we talk so much shit all year about how we got a superstar in DeRozan. Oh, I remember DeRozan. Is DeRozan the next Kobe? That was a legitimate conversation that was happening in Toronto in 2012.
Well, Rob, to be fair, every fan base has a ton of those fans that don't really understand the game besides just the surface level stuff. They watch highlights and they see cool shit like DeMar DeRozan dunking on people and having some similarities in the mid-range game, but
Kobe?
Honestly, no, I'm just telling you that there's a bunch of delusional fans in every fan base that will say shit like that, and unfortunately, every fan base has them. And to your point, Mint Win, he says, I can't say anything bad about Fran VanVleet and Siakam at the Raptors Republic. Now I found my soulmate. Hey, man, we don't censor anybody. You can say whatever the hell you want. Rob says whatever the hell he wants. That's just how it goes, man. So make sure you subscribe to Pensionary Basketball and you keep it here. Like, share, subscribe. That way the algorithm keeps out pushing us to Canada, man. We're trying to, really focus on Canada. We the North, man. But yeah, man, this is a community where anyone can talk and just, express themselves however they want because, censorship is terrible. That's all I got to say, though.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I'm not talking out of my ass here. Yeah, I might be very heated, and I might be extremely animated, and there's definitely a bit of a bias here because I've been stewing. This has been boiling up for a while, right? With me, at least. This Fred VanVleet stuff. It's been 9 months, 10 months. I've been listening to this guy talk shit and talk about himself in this grandiose matter like he's some super, super duper star who's going to be the next Curry. And it bothers me. It bothers me intellectually that the media doesn't address it. It bothers me that Nick Nurse seems to believe it. It bothers me that the Raptors are allowing this to happen. And it bothers me that it's eventually going to lead to this guy getting paid a max contract. Right?
Wow. Gary Trent said it was the first day in the week that he didn't have a fever. Fevers have been as high as 102, and he's lost 8 pounds. Just trying to push through. Hey, man, respect.
Respect. Last year, I did not want us to re-sign Gary Trent because I thought he was a very one-dimensional player. Now, I also believe that he is an incredibly overrated defender, and I will not ever buy into this Raptor bullshit, this Raptor announcer bullshit, because these guys are brainwashing our fan base, right?
Yeah, they are. They are.
Like a million people are watching this game, and they're hearing Gary Trent Jr. is a really good defender. And, if I go on a forum or if I write an article saying he's not a good defender, here, look at 500 numbers that prove that, they're going to say that I'm a hater because Alvin Williams told you he was. Look, these guys are paid. They're goons, right? They're paid goons.
Yeah.
They're going to talk well about this team. And you know what? Credit to Gary Trent. He has been, if he was a 1 out of 10 on defense last year, he's a 4 out of 10 now. Okay? And credit, because there are not a lot of guys in the NBA who grew by 3 points on defense out of 10 over an offseason. So credit to him. He's engaged. He's trying. He helps. But he's not a good defender. Don't give me that shit. I mean, when he was leading the league at some point in deflections and steals,
I told you that, bro. I was like, this is like fool's gold. Like, no, I'm not going to buy into it.
It's total bullshit. It's like Hassan Whiteside leading the league in blocks. It's total bullshit. It's not right. But to use that to trick a fan base into saying that, oh, look at this guy, he's so great, and this is another guy on a proven contract, right? Look, I will say I wasn't a huge Gary Trent fan, but I will admit where I am wrong. He has earned this contract and some. He, at 23, has some room to grow. He will get better, hopefully, ideally, Do I think he's going to be a superstar? Hell no. But he's one of the better players under 25 in the NBA, which is a lot to say for, what you gave up for him, which was basically Norman Powell, right? So great. That's great. I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. I thought he was going to be a lot worse than this. But with Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, like, these are not the guys. These are not A1, and look, if at some point the Clippers, led by Lamar Odom and Darius Miles, had ever made it to the playoffs, you would have seen Lamar Odom do this, because some guys just aren't built for the big stage in that primary light. And I think the other narrative that I think really bothers me is championship pedigree. Okay? This idea that because a guy won a championship as a backup guard or as a second or third option on a heavy veteran team where he was just a rim runner, right? Like basically in a John Collins role right now, which is what Pascal Siakam was for us, effectively, just a little bit more than that. Maybe John Collins plus some. That because they excelled in that role, that they will necessarily be great players. And to those people, I say, then why did the Bulls, led by Tony Kukoc, end up with the worst record in the NBA after Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen left? Because Tony Kukoc won championships, and Tony Kukoc was legit. He was a really good player, but he's not a number one option. And when you put him in that role, when Krause put him in that role, thinking, oh well, now I finally got my Kukoc-led team, you ended up in the lottery and you ended up with Elton Brand as your first overall pick. That's my point. There are certain guys, there's certain advantages that just don't scale in basketball, right? Jeremy Grant went to Detroit because he wanted to be a first option. Tried that out for a year. Doesn't work. End up in the lottery. Now they're going to do it with Cade. You're going to find out in a year. That doesn't work. Some guys just can't do that. Some guys can't do that in the regular season. Some guys can do it in the regular season, but they can't do it in the playoffs. DeMar DeRozan, he can do it in the regular season. Can't do it in the playoffs. Because when those gaps tighten, when those lights brighten, Scotty Barnes shows up. Everyone else goes to sleep, right? OG Anunoby has shown you something here. 3 straight games? This is not a fluke. This is not hot shooting. He showed up. Now, what I really resented about Fred VanVleet, and what really triggered me about that interview, he said OG and Gary are basically getting spacing opportunities. That threw me for a loop. The Sixers saw OG Anunoby. They saw red. They were sending a second defender to him at the rim. There were certain times tonight where OG Anunoby drew 4 defenders and then passed out to Precious Achiuwa, dunking, cutting to the rim, or passed out to a shooter, or he made a quick drive. He made quick reads. Look, if you're a Raptor fan, first of all, OG Anunoby, greatest contract in the NBA. Holy shit. I mean, I know that he's injured sometimes, but you have a 24-year-old two-way wing who is showing you legitimately that he can be a first option in spurts. He's showing you what you Pascal Siakam to be. Everything that Fred VanVleet just said Pascal Siakam is doing for you, which he's not doing for you, OG Anunoby actually is doing for you. He's playing two ways. He's sucking in defenders. He's showing up. He's productive. He's hitting shots over Danny Green contested. Don't act like OG Anunoby is fucking George Niang. He's not. He's creating offense off the bounce. He's hitting shots, contested shots over really good defenders. They're not hiding anybody on him. In fact, by the end of the game, it's obvious Doc Rivers figured out that Pascal Siakam was not interested in playing basketball today. The first game against the Sixers, Pascal Siakam saw a second defender. Tonight, he barely saw a second defender. They were leaving Niang on him, and they were leaving Tobias on him. And they're like, you know what? If this guy wants to score, if he wants to show,
he just didn't look comfortable. Like he just didn't look confident.
He didn't. He did not.
It was crazy. I was like, what the hell?
Every time he got the ball, he was looking around like, where do I give it? Where do I give it? Do I give it to Fred? Okay, here, Fred, you take it. Chris Boucher, you take it. Chris Boucher.
That's when I was like, wait, did he just look for Chris Boucher?
He gave the ball to Chris Boucher with 4 seconds left, and Chris Boucher had to do a step back 3-pointer off the bounce,
which he doesn't mind. But yeah,
he doesn't mind. That's not a shot for Chris Boucher. That's a shot for you, bro. I can't tell you, dude. The 76ers gave Pascal Siakam close to 10 feet of space when he was behind the line, and he just refused to shoot. Refused to shoot. You're a max player. This is not new. This is not a new rodeo. You are not 21 years old. You're 28 years old right now, and you said you wanted this, right? No, nobody said sign a max. No, you asked for the max, okay? And then you decided to be the guy. Look, I have no problem with Siakam if he comes back next year, which he obviously will. I'm great with it, but move over and just be a guy. Don't try to pull this shit. I was honestly at one point, I was so frustrated in the first half. I was like, you know what? I will glue this guy to the bench, or I would just tell him, look, stop doing anything on offense. Just don't touch the ball anymore. Basically, be Rudy Gobert meets Dennis Rodman for us, and just go out and fucking rebound the ball. You have 5 rebounds. You know what? Andrea Bargnani got toasted by this fan base. He wasn't a max guy. He was just a first overall pick in a really weak draft for grabbing 5 or 6 rebounds per 32 minutes. Pascal Siakam just grabbed 5 or 6 rebounds in 48 minutes in the biggest game of the season.
DeMar DeRozan got 33 points right now, and the Bulls are up by 12 with 11 minutes left.
So much for playoff choker. He's grown. He has grown. You know what?
So should we give Pascal Siakam more time?
Pascal Siakam is 28 years old. Pascal Siakam has had 3 runs at 3, 4, 5. How many playoffs has he had? Think about it.
3.
He was
3.
No, not 3. He was
drafted in 2016.
We made the playoffs in 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020. We missed the playoffs once. This is 5th playoffs. 5th playoffs. This is 5th. 5 times.
This is the second, but this is the second as like the featured guy, right?
That's fine. Okay. You're second as a featured guy at the age of 28. 2 years going into 3 years of your max contract. No, this is like, I mean, look, to me, he's a second option. And as I told you from the very beginning of the season, the Raptors don't have that number 1 guy yet. This is not a second option because look, tonight they obviously looked to OG initially to start the game as the first guy, right? Pascal Siakam was supposed to be your second option tonight. He shit the bed as your second option, not as your first option tonight.
I mean, he shit the bed as like your 4th, 5th, 6th option tonight. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, he took 16 shots. Yeah. He had plenty of opportunity with the ball. He had a lot of possession with the ball, a lot of time to create, right? I see Pascal Siakam. Now, I know a lot of people are going to point to, the run that he had in the regular season, and I'll say, you know what? That's true. All of that is true. What he did in the regular season happened. I cannot excuse that. I cannot pretend that didn't happen. It definitely did happen. I cannot pretend that it was inefficient. It was efficient. But I also cannot pretend that this team has done well without him this season in the games they played. I also cannot I cannot pretend to ignore the fact that Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam tend to work around the same areas on the floor, right? And I also can't ignore the fact that he's paid like a first option. He's paid like a first or second option, and frankly, look, let me ask you a question. Okay, truth time. I offer. Let's say you're you're Daryl Morey right now, right? Forget about age, just for this series. I'm going to trade you James Harden for Pascal Siakam. You doing that trade?
No.
That's my point. So James Harden right now.
That's not fair. James Harden's pretty good.
Okay. Fine.
That's not fair.
Fine. Zach LaVine. You doing that?
On the Bulls?
Yep.
No, because I need the shooting to space out.
So that's a second. That's a second/third option on a 7th seed. Would you do it for Kyrie Irving? Because he's a second option in Brooklyn.
I mean, Kyrie Kyrie's arguably the best offensive player in the game.
Right, but he's second option in Brooklyn, right? Would you do?
Yeah, again, technically speaking, but
dude,
he'd be the first option with the Raptors, though.
But that's my point. I can go down the list of second options in the NBA on good teams, right? Would you do it for Jimmy Butler? Would you trade Pascal Siakam for Jimmy Butler for this series? Right?
No.
Exactly, because Jimmy brings you a lot on defense, and he's amazing. Like, that's my point. But look, this is my point. This guy.
It depends who your number one is, though. Like, just
this
because
is the best possible series for him, though.
but just because we can't replace him with Kyrie, with James Harden, with all these guys you just named, that doesn't mean that he can't work as his own second option if he had a Kawhi Leonard type player as the first option. And unfortunately, the Raptors don't have that right now. They have Freddie VanVleet, as Nick Nurse likes to say, the ultimate green light as their featured player. That's their all-star.
But tonight their featured player was OG, right? And in spurts it was Gary. It was a pretty equal opportunity offense. You cannot call their first option the guy who jacked up most of his shots late and went 3 for 13. Because I mean, honestly, OG.
But that's their featured player, though. Like, if you ask Nick Nurse who their featured player is, he's gonna say Fred VanVleet.
I would say he would say Siakam, because Siakam is the highest usage guy on this team. Right, so Siakam has played. Look, like Fred VanVleet had a lot of on-ball opportunities before Siakam came back. Right, like he ranked up all those numbers. Harrison Brand, yeah, get out of here.
Would you make that trade?
No,
and a first-round pick?
And a first-round pick? This year's first-round pick?
Next year's.
No. Unless you land the number 1 pick and you have Chet Holmgren, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, you're not trading Chet for Siakam. Like, no disrespect to Siakam.
No disrespect taken. I get that. Like
Harrison Barnes gives you something similar. Rashawn Holmes shores up your center position. I mean, that kind of makes sense for you guys.
I think some of this might be mental, right? Someone mentioned the other day that Pascal Siakam seems like a very different player with Scotty Barnes than he does without Scotty Barnes. Scotty is a very special person. You know this. He has a pulse. Like he's an empath. Like, so he sees his teammates. If a teammate is a little bit down, he can pick him up with a hug or an arm around, or he'll say something to him. He'll clap in his face. He'll do something to get him out of it. And thank you. Thank you, Kenyon. Like, seriously, I think maybe Scotty just takes pressure off of Siakam.
He does. And I was about to say that. It's like they play well together, even though they kind of work in the same areas of the floor. But Scotty just does that, man. And it's until Nick Nurse and the organization say, this is Scotty's team. Until they say, this is our featured player, this is our guy, you're going to have this pressure mounted. And as you said, some guys just don't have it up here, which is a mental, which 80% is mental. But some guys just don't have it up here. And that's what Siakam is dealing with right now. You know, being the guy that's paid the most money, and in the eyes of any, recreational fan, well, he's your star because he gets paid the most money. So he has that pressure. And sometimes guys can't deal with that, Rob, and you know that best.
Look, I would forgive his offensive passiveness if he was even passable on defense tonight. but he was atrocious on defense.
Yeah.
Atrocious.
He was atrocious on both ends, and it was just a really bad game.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you are not assertive on offense and you are not taking shots that are clearly your shots to take, you are fucking up the entire offensive rhythm of the entire like game. Because I mean, there's obviously like look, if Tobias Harris is sagging off, you don't take that three. Well, what's the next move? You got to drive past this guy, and now you got congested paint, and you know he kept doing that. He kept doing that. He kept trying to back down a guy who's way stronger than him, right? There's a lot of things in basketball that kind of go unseen, right? When you have a guy like Chris Boucher and Siakam out there together, who's setting picks for your guards? Neither of those guys could hold a pick better than you. I'm pretty sure that you could hold a pick better than both those guys, just based on low center of gravity.
Picks. There you go. Picks.
So do I.
I set great picks.
I'm 160 pounds soaking wet, but I set awesome picks. I hold my position well. I saw Siakam get pushed out. Like I won't even like he got pushed around like a rag doll tonight. On the glass, he's not boxing out. On defense, he's late to rotate. Right. So yes, in theory, what Pascal Siakam could be is like a very souped up Draymond Green. Like a very souped up. He can run the break for you. He switch everything. He can drop. He can block.
He don't have the
shot.
passing ability of a Draymond though. You know, like
you know what? I will tell you this. This is a guy who was pretty much a triple-double threat for most of the second half of the season. When he got it going, his passing ability. Do not take the last 3 games because these are playoff games. We all know they count, and Pascal Siakam shrivels in these moments. But in the regular season, I'm telling you, the passes he was finding, the way he was looking, even some of the stuff, it was very Lonzo-esque. Some of the passes that he was throwing up. I'll tell you an interesting stat. Scotty Barnes is number 1 in the NBA for points off of post-ups in the first 8 seconds of a shot clock. Do you know why that is? Usually it's because Pascal Siakam finds him that early on those post-ups. So, you know what? I like Pascal Siakam as a point guard. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I like him as a point guard. He's just good enough. His handle is just good enough. It won't force him to be – you won't put all that pressure on him to be a 25-point-per-game scorer. He's just long enough that he can back off guys. It won't exploit the fact that he's not that strong. And it makes you incredibly – it makes you very it doesn't hurt your rebounding because he's above average rebounder for a point guard. He may not be an above average rebounder for a power forward or a center, which is where he's had to play a lot of times. He can't bang down low. He doesn't really like contact. And you know what? As a point guard, he can actually post up. That's the one advantage I'll give you. In the mid post, he can actually post up as a point guard, shooting guard. And with Scotty on the floor, it actually allows him to move off ball. And Scotty's a great passer. So he'll find Pascal's cutting. He usually guides Pascal to the cuts, right? He'll set a pick for Pascal to get open. There's nobody doing that for anybody on the floor right now. There's nobody setting those picks.
That's how Kyle Lowry used to direct certain guys, and like Scotty Barnes has those exact tendencies of, he's your real point guard, man. Whether or not people want to buy into it and, lie to themselves, like Scotty Barnes is your best option at the point. He really stop the cap.
He absolutely is. But, imagine, like from a team building perspective, imagine Scotty and Pascal Siakam as 2 of your 3 perimeter players.
Plus
so
OG.
Well, that's exactly it, right? So maybe OG is like the 3rd guy in that. I think there's just enough shooting if Scotty can get better as a shooter. I mean, Pascal pretty much brought himself up to about 36% this year. OG, if his finger's not hurt, is pretty much a 38% 3-point shooter. Yeah. If Scotty can get up to 34%, I say you're good. As long as you get some shooting in your bigs, you're great. And, maybe that's Miles Turner. Maybe as long as it's not Rudy Gobert.
Maybe that's Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So,
hey, you were all about it before this season happened.
Yes, I was. I actually have a lot of faith in Precious Achiuwa, to be honest. He showed up really big tonight. Free throws notwithstanding. It's hard to forget. This is his second year. He was buried behind Dwayne Dedman on the Miami Heat bench. Got thrown in as a throwaway, right? and I agree. Kenyon. Like I think Scotty is the heir apparent to Lowry because it's sort of funny. Like the scouting reports were so wrong for all the rookies this year, and I think I've mentioned this before that Scotty is what Cade was supposed to be in a lot of ways. He's the jumbo heliocentric creator who can do a lot of stuff in the middle of the floor. Cade is a lot of what Jalen Suggs was supposed to be. Like streaky shooter, a little bit undersized, a little bit, and Jalen Suggs is a 0-level scorer, which is exactly what Scotty Barnes is supposed to be. So this entire thing, it's like they played body swap. They like had a Freaky Friday situation or like some sort of Space Jam situation where they all stole each other's talents.
Leo trying to trade Raptor Kings bench players. No, I mean Harrison Barnes is a legit starter in the league. Rashawn Holmes should have started with Sabonis. The problem is they had Alvin Gentry, which we all know how that goes when he's a head coach of a basketball team, which is why he's not the head coach anymore. But they should have started those two guys. And with all the legal troubles that Rashawn went through, how they poked his eye out, he had a tough year, man, on so many levels. Rashawn Holmes would be amazing. Rashawn would be amazing on the Raptors. Like, stop the cap. Like, with the length that they have on the perimeter and Rashawn as your weak side rim protector and your rim runner, with that, and he led the NBA in field goal percentage with like that crazy ass little floater. Come on, man, he'd be nasty on the Raptors.
I mean, he would be probably our best option against Joel Embiid right now.
Oh, facts, without question.
Right. And I mean, look, like it's kind of interesting that this is a series that I really thought going in, and I've been proven wrong because the way Siakam was rolling, I was like, there's no way he's going to melt down the way that he did in the bubble because, there's no COVID issue this time. I haven't touched a basketball for 4 months, right? So this, and the thing I thought was the Philadelphia 76ers cannot guard Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes. Like they can't guard one, they definitely can't guard both. So I think that, I'll be very curious to see if Siakam can look a little bit more comfortable on Saturday if Scotty comes back. Because I mean, even on a bit of a bum ankle, maybe Scotty's not going to be as switchable, he's not going to be as twitchy, he's not going to be as fast, but he's still going to be able to set picks, he's still going to be able to pass, he's still going to be a stationary, creator. And I think, again, if you go back and watch the first game, now I know it was only 32 minutes, but Scotty Barnes had about the greatest 32 minutes of any rookie ever in terms of a debut. 4 for 6 from the field and nearly a 15-point triple-double. And he was great on defense for the most part, great on the glass. He was incredible. I think he had a 9.8 box plus minus. That's unheard of. For a rookie to come out, that's his first game. And I think that it just elevates other players on this team. I'll be really curious to see what impact he has because again, the only downside here is him coming back. It's not going to impact Fred's minutes. It's not going to impact Siakam's minutes. It's just going to impact Precious and Boucher's minutes, and those are the guys who've been helping you. So it's like
he's a glue guy. He's a glue
guy, but it's like if you could replace a healthy Scotty Barnes with Pascal Siakam, you win tonight. Facts, 100%. There's no way you lose because Scotty's better on defense and he'd be way more aggressive on offense. So it's like the problem is if Scotty comes back, you're actually taking out a guy who's helping you right now in Precious, and you're taking another guy. Maybe you're taking shots away from OG, who's been great, and you're taking away shots from Boucher, who's been really decent. I mean. Really, think about this way. For the season going into tonight, the Raptors were shooting about, I think, 8th among the 16 playoff teams for field goal percentage. They had 4 guys shooting almost 80% true shooting. Cam, Precious, Boucher, and OG. Sorry, no, hold on. Take Precious out of that. It was Cam, Boucher, Scotty, and OG. You take those 4 guys out, this is the worst offense. So my point is, if you plug Scotty back in, you're plugging him in for another guy who's super efficient. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to say here. My long-winded way of saying that.
So Saturday, we will see you guys once again. We will see Scotty Barnes back in action, apparently, according to Coach Nick Nurse. hopefully Coach Nick Nurse has a better outing as a head coach because, today he was outcoached by Doc Rivers, which is shocking. It's shocking. But, hey, man, it is what it is. Everybody in this chat watching right now, please like this video or dislike it, whatever you feel like. If you're angry with the Raptors, either way, it helps out the algorithm. So please do it right now. Watch the rest of our coverage. Rob and I have done some pretty good deep analysis stuff for the Raptors on his channel. You can also check out his channel, Pensionary Basketball. Links are in the description as well. Rob, any final words, man? Quick thoughts.
If you check out Pensari Basketball tomorrow, I'm gonna have a breakdown for this. I'm gonna make a point to actually break down this game and really just show everybody what's actually happening on the court. And I will say this: no coach in NBA history has given up 3-1 leads more than Doc Rivers. Okay,
that's true.
So So if there was ever a coach that you would bet to give up the first 3-0 lead, it would be Doc Rivers.
It would be Doc Rivers.
Okay, so let's hope. But you know what? I hope that Scotty Barnes coming back can just ignite this team. And you know what? Sometimes a guy like that coming back, a guy with great energy, it really can give yourself a boost. And you know what? 3-1, suddenly you build some confidence. 3-2, now it's a series, right? I'm not saying they're going to rail it off four straight, but I'm saying, there's
at least give me at least give me a game 6 in Toronto. That's all. That's all I'm asking for.
You know what? I'll just be happy with if he's healthy. Look, if Scotty's not healthy, God damn it, do not bring this guy back. I do not want to see him get hurt and hurt something else or re-injure this ankle because you're just trying to not get swept or some bullshit like that.
Yeah.
Because there can be a lot of pressure on a rookie, right? There can. And medical staffs are not perfect. I know that we assume that multi-billion-dollar, organizations have perfect medical staffs. They do not. Okay, they misdiagnose shit all the time. They misread shit all the time. Players, say that something doesn't hurt when it really does hurt because they're feeling this sort of like pressure to come back. It happens. Okay, this is the truth of the NBA. So I hope that he doesn't rush himself back. He is way too important to this franchise. And honestly, like, if Scotty Barnes was not on this team, I would consider moving.
Yeah.
I'd consider moving to Oklahoma.
Come home, bro. Come home to Sacramento, bro.
I'll move to.
We'll do some dope film shit out here.
I'll move to Oklahoma City and root for Josh Giddey and draft picks, 27 draft picks and Josh Giddey. I'm moving to Oklahoma, baby. Or I'm moving to Seattle.
Well, again, thank you guys so much on behalf of the entire Basketball Zone community. We thank you guys, and we'll see you very, very soon. Peace.